Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. It's me and Anand here. Of course, we have to talk about gold. Of course, we have to talk about silver. But before we get into talking about silver and gold and all those nice things that allure us, let's just quickly dive into what's happening in Japan. The market is down today at closing in Japan around 2.5%. Mainly that is thanks to the trade tension stoked up by Donald Trump. And of course, the hopes of a stable government in Japan seems to be vanishing because the ruling party itself split, and there's furthermore confusion as what's going to be happening in Japan in terms of ruling. Of course, that will spill over into inflation and what the Central Bank of Japan decides to do, and all those nice things. It is always a risk which has huge aversion for investors, and uncertainty and risk is up right now in Japan, and that looks like a normal thing. Of course, you will argue saying if that is so case is so true, then why is the American market doing what it's doing? That we don't have an answer for. Why the Americans and the American markets are reacting differently to any form of risk is something fascinating to study. Probably in history, this would definitely be a chapter, if not an entire semester, on what has happened during the Trump presidency. But anyway, getting back to discussion, we saw what happened with gold. We saw the gold softening, and everyone said the dollar is strengthening. That peace, Donald Trump has managed to secure a peace deal, which even Biden was unable to do. And this has led to the floodgates of the dollar rising, the dollar index that is, and vote of confidence on the dollar. And that was the reason why gold softened. A lot of analysts said that. Then, of course, Trump did the China trade. Again, it zoomed back up. Now, one of the main reasons it's also going further and further up is something curious to look. And then, like I was talking on Instagram, Anand was telling me about something known as a short squeeze. I thought Anand could explain that too and what is happening in silver. So, Anand, what is happening?
There was a very interesting week this week. First thing, except Bitcoin and Ethereum, all the other cryptos have been sliced to bits. There has been a loss of $150 billion in the market, in the crypto market. And in between, there was a revival as I'm speaking. In Bloomberg is reporting 10 minutes ago. There's been another massive fall.
Yes.
So the only two currencies that are surviving are in with pain are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin, of course, for most people who are listening, is out of our reach. If you are holding it through some convoluted structure, you may lose everything. There is an altcoin which has vanished, and there is no question of margin funding. Like in case of stock markets, if you run out of margin, your broker will call you for margin. In in leveraged crypto trades, you are vanished. You just vanish. In fact, there was a very cryptic tweet in one of the Bloomberg articles. If we can fish it out, the kid has said that he has lost his earnings, his debt, his credit card, and his mother's savings. And he says, I don't know what I'm going to tell my mom. Wipe clean. The Trump meme coin, the Melinda meme coin were down 37%. So this is in the crypto space. There's not even a ripple in the main market. Nobody is talking about it, but people have got wiped clean. Okay, so let's not look at Bitcoin and Ethereum
Disclaimer, that's why we've been saying be careful.
and say everything is hunky dory. The Shibu coin and all that coins got wiped clean. They took cut taken to the cleaners. This is because of something Trump and China, and Trump was very careful that this would do on the weekend, that it won't affect the markets. But unfortunately, nobody told Trump that cryptos works 24 bar 7.
Correct.
So it gave a big, nasty stock. And in between, Jamie Dimon gave an interview in which he said, Bitcoin's price depends only what is that other guy willing to pay for it. It's a trust. So it can go to 100,000, but eventually will come to zero. This is Jamie Dimon. And he said the total value of Bitcoin is about 50 to $100 billion. He may be off. But he says his bank transacts $6 trillion a day. And he says finally the crush will come from the government because the government wants to know where the money is. This is on crypto. Now the next point he made up was on Japan. There's an iron lady in Japan who's taken over. She has won the Liberal Democratic Party election. There's a faction which is independent party called the Keto Party. Now that party is refusing to back LDP. This is the first time in 50 years this is happening. This is because unofficially nobody wants a lady to take over in Japan. It's very difficult. It's a deeply patriarchal society.
Yeah, culturally it goes against them.
It's a cultural ecosystem. But the official reason being given is this junior party wants LDP to clean up the mess, donations mess, and it has made some suggestions. The junior partner wants the senior partner to accept the solutions right away,
Immediately.
immediately. She wants 2 days to go back and talk it over. Not happening. Basically, it smells more of an old boys conspiracy, with some people in LDP telling that junior partner show up and say no thanks so that she can be
We can
knocked
have
off.
an excuse way out.
No excuse. Now the markets had already shot up because she was going to keep the yen low, the interest rates low. The market had a party because of that.
Correct.
Now it looks like she is not coming back. The yen has rallied and the markets have hit hard. But the Japanese market is not highly overvalued. It's in fact deeply undervalued. Parts of the market are very cheap. So this is a temporary setback. This is Japan.
Correct. And even in Japan, Anand never says we're looking at Japan as a country or an entire market. We're only picking the stocks, companies very carefully.
So this is the Japanese market.
The news of Japan.
This is the news from Japan where there is a lot of uncertainty over the government. In spite of all these instabilities, the Japanese handled the Trump transition the best.
Yes. They managed to negotiate a sweet deal.
They got a very sweet deal and business is running as usual. So you can be rest assured this political impasse will not affect the functioning of Japanese companies and Japanese society. This is the second point that
We spoke
wanted
about
me
it.
to bring up. The third thing he is talking about is silver squeeze. Normally, what happens is if I'm selling an asset for 10 rupees in spot, the 1 month future should be 11 rupees or 12 rupees. For the interest and the premium that the cost of money is going to push, the cost of carry is going to keep it higher. But silver for the first time is showing an what is called a backraton or some name like that, where the futures price of silver is cheaper than the spot price. Let us assume if the spot price is 170 today, the futures price is 150. That is, people are saying that people believe that the guy who is committing to deliver at 150 cannot deliver. They want spot at 150. This is because there are only buyers and no sellers in the market. It is a panic situation. So nobody believes that the guys who are selling the futures can deliver.
Correct.
And even there are some people, traders who have sold the futures contract, are unable to deliver
They're unable to cover.
Silver
Correct.
because nobody wants to take off the contract from their hand even at a profit.
Yes.
They are forcing them to deliver.
Yes.
The same thing happened in crude oil, where the sellers of crude oil wanted to deliver, and the buyers had no chance but to accept delivery. And when they did not accept delivery, the price went negative. This is the exact opposite of that.
Correct.
The price will spike. Two things can happen. The exchange can force an auction, which will take the price up very high, or even possibly, if the things really get very bad, the exchange itself will default, which is a catastrophic event.
Highly unlikely to happen.
Highly unlikely, but it is heading towards this. Because for the last 2 weeks, the silver trade is inverted with the spot being costlier than the
Future.
future. So this is known as the short silver squeeze. Basically, what has happened is those who have sold silver short are unable to deliver. And the guys who bought silver are not willing to settle for cash. They are asking for delivery of silver. And one of the biggest buyers of silver has been India. There is another problem in the market. Even for gold in India, banks are not able to deliver the gold. Even in the cash market, there's a premium of 200 rupees. So this is really testing stuff. The difference between gold and silver is the reserve banks don't play the game in silver, so it will not smoothen out. But in the case of gold, the major players are the reserve banks of the world and they will smoothen it out. Therefore, silver can sink the index, not gold.
And also remember, in silver, there is a huge industrial use for silver, which will have a roll-on, knock-on effect on a lot of industries. Because, like Anand said, supply people are not willing to deliver, which is going to lead to a sudden squeeze even there.
There's a lot of silver. Nobody wants to part with the silver. They want to keep it under their pillowcase.
Because they feel it's going to go
Up further. Thank you for watching Be Rich. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the bell notification. If you do not turn on the bell notification, you will not be notified every time we put out a video. Once again, I thank you for your support for Be Rich.
Thank you.